Hello again, it's me. So today we're having a catch up with a trilogy, and I've waited to do these, although I've read them because I was waiting for the third one to come out, and I've stolen this picture from Catherine's website. So this is Catherine Kullmann, and what a beautiful picture. And you should read A Suggestion of Scandal because it's awesome. But today I'm mostly thinking about the trilogy, which is called the Duchess of Gracechurch trilogy, and she's the character who features in all of the books. The first two are about friends of hers, and I wouldn't say there are themes particularly, but they're all about sort of marriage and the role of marriage within sort of society at this period. And the impact on women, how women manage with the complexities of their situation. In that their situation is not grand, frankly, financially challenging, and sort of just the culture of the time, I suppose. So they're set in Britain. So the first that I read was Perception and Illusion, which is a young couple coming together, and just the sort of lack of communication, essentially, and a really interesting story about how they sort themselves out and move forward. And these are friends of the Duke and Duchess of Gracechurch, so they do feature in it. And then I went on to read The Murmur of Masks, which is a really kind of sad in lots of places story about a young woman who is sort of left alone. Her parents die, or her father is away at sea, and a young girl can't live alone, it's just not possible, and so she's married off to someone. I won't give too much away, but she's married off to someone who on the surface is very appropriate, and he can look after her, he can give her a house, he can keep her away from wagging tongues because she's now married, but she's incredibly young, and his reasons for marriage are completely understandable, but he's not honest with her about them, and so her marriage is safe and pleasant in some ways, but not real love. And then she does fall in love, and that adds a whole another layer of complexity. It's a really beautiful tale. It's a beautiful love story at its core, but it so cleverly shares how difficult it would have been and how few choices women really had in this period, and just the sort of the danger really of and not just women actually, because the husband has a very specific reason for marrying, and his situation is also very dangerous. It's a beautiful, evocative tale of its period, and Catherine is an extraordinary storyteller. I would read any of her books at the drop of a hat. She's a beautiful lyrical writer. She's Irish, so I'm guessing that's where it comes from. So the last in the trilogy, the one I've just finished, is called The Duke's Regret. And finally we get to find out more about this Duke and Duchess of Gracechurch. They've flitted in and out throughout all the stories. They've been charming and kind, helpful, all these lovely things. So we assume them to be the sort of perfect couple. But this book tells us a little bit more about them, a little bit more about how their marriage came about, the difficulties it's encountered, very much from the Duke's perspective, which is rather lovely to have a more sort of masculine approach, and his regrets, and whether or not he can, whether he's too late to rescue something that could be another beautiful love story. So they're all romance, they're all beautiful, they all have satisfying conclusions, but they are all quite different in the sort of social issues that they tackle. You can read them all alone. I think if you read The Duke's Regret, it certainly has storylines from the other two, so you really need to read that one last. I don't particularly think it matters which order you read the other two in, because I'm fairly sure there's nothing in them that converts into another. But definitely need to read the Duke's one last. And again, as I say, I'd read other of Catherine's work as well, because the way she writes is so entertaining And so, it really takes you to that place. You really are completely surrounded by, all of your senses are surrounded in that time. And she deals very sensitively with what, and very appropriately in the time. It's easy for us to be outraged now, but actually in the time that was common practice, that was how it was done. And, we might be really cross that this young girl is sort of married off. But actually, her uncle was genuinely trying to do what he felt was the right thing for her, to keep her safe, to keep her above any kind of sort of social exclusion. And so, it's horrible to think of it now, but in the moment, I think people were genuinely trying to do their best for someone. So they're really interesting and really engaging. And I hope that, although that's the end of the trilogy, there is much more to come from Catherine Kullmann, because I really enjoy reading her work.